Water is critical for the survival of any community. There's drinking water, of course, and the decisions that go into ensuring safe and clean water is available, but there's also the need for irrigation, aquatic life, wastewater disposal and treatment, stormwater management, and more. Water is the topic of this episode of AE Live.
Coming to you on the internet, audio, on my stem, homies know AE's where you gotta go. Shuffle to the rhythm of the Grandma Michael groove. It's a whole new pure plur interview. Treat your ears to the gist of careers from the list of our engineers and scientists, maybe twisted up with technologists. It's a podcast, baby, and not to be missed. Got more fly than a ripe banana, like the salmon caught the stamina streaming across Canada. Like a trade show cabana, got that swiggity swag and the 411 for my horse Niagara. AE Live, don't you know we're gonna innovate? AE Live, got a topic here to elevate. AE Live, here to entertain and educate. AE Live, oh! AE Live, don't you know we're gonna innovate? AE Live, got a topic here to elevate. AE Live, we're gonna entertain and educate. AE Live, oh!
The Water Security for Canadians initiative is a collaboration of scientists and policy experts who have come together to analyze Canada's emerging water crisis. It's comprised of Global Water Futures, a university-led research program, the Centre for Indigenous Environmental Resources, a nonprofit Indigenous-directed organization, the Forum for Leadership on Water, the Polis Water Sustainability Project, and the United Nations University Institute for Water, Environment, and Health. Their 2019 report, called Water Security for Canadians, outlines an emerging water crisis in Canada and proposes a path to finding solutions. To quote, Canadians can no longer be assured our waters are abundant, safe, and secure. As global temperatures continue to increase, glaciers melt, permafrost thaws, river flows become unpredictable, and lakes warm and fill with toxic algae, science is telling us that the rate at which water moves through the water cycle is accelerating, which is fundamentally changing weather and precipitation patterns. The report goes on to warn Canadians about the increasing costs associated with intensified floods and droughts, pressures on fisheries and waterways due to ecological changes, and issues related to safe drinking water. Joining me today from her office in Vernon, British Columbia, is Marta Green. Marta is a graduate of UBC's hydrogeology program and has over 20 years of experience in environmental consulting. Her experience includes supporting groundwater and wastewater projects and municipal protection plans, community drinking water, and disaster response, such as supporting the City of Merritt's response to the 2021 atmospheric river and flooding. Marta also recently became the president of the BC Groundwater Association. She is the first female president in the association's 55-year history. Hi, Marta. Thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks. Great to be here, Graham.
So you completed a degree in hydrogeology and soil science from UBC. Can you tell me a bit about getting your degree and why?
Oh, yeah. Throughout my youth, I was always in the outdoors, camping with my family and hiking and backcountry skiing, even from a pretty young age. And so when I was kind of choosing my path, my dad actually suggested that I might enjoy hydrogeology. So I was on my way to tree plant for the summer, and I had to register for second year courses. And I remember this was back in the day when you signed up for courses by the telephone. So I remember being at the top of the Coquihalla and having to dial in and sign up for some geology courses. So yeah, mostly my enthusiasm for the outdoors for sure.
Great. I guess speaking of outdoors and the work you've done over the course of your career, you've done projects of every different size. I'm sure each has its own rewards, but can you compare a bit about what you've learned working on small projects versus big things for a community and then the province size things you've done?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's always good to start your career, literally, boots on the ground, your hands dirty in the soil. And, starting my career in contaminated sites was great because I literally got to pack soil jars and touch the aquifer material. Being able to get into that nitty gritty and to see an aquifer from that close of a lens was a really good start. And as I continue my career, and I'm mid-career maybe with close to 22 years, so I guess it's getting up there. But you definitely realize, what does it mean to change the province or move the province into a more sustainable way, and you can make a difference. It's harder for sure coming from that, take your samples, write your report, go on to the next one, to go from like a project scale to a program scale. But I've had some mentors, and it's really fulfilling to see your contribution change the way we manage groundwater and water in BC.
It's a lot of work, and it spans a lot of areas, I guess. Before we, dive too much into specifics of what you've done, and I guess still with an eye to that person going through university now, how do you see the work having changed over like 22 years? You've mentioned in your career, I assume the job isn't exactly what it was when you started.
Yeah, yes and no, for sure. I mean, I still open the textbook that I used in school, Freeze and Cherry, Groundwater and Wells from 1979. So I literally still use the same principles, and science does not change. That's really nice to know that will never go away. As far as what's changed, it's a really good question, Graham. I would say the multidisciplinary innovation. So for example, in my world, you've got your groundwater, and then you've got your drinking water treatment. And in the middle there, as far as, for example, with pathogens and designing drinking water treatment to remove pathogens, you need to know a little bit about biology. You need to know a little bit about how different contaminants move through groundwater. So you actually have to understand like the shape and life cycle of your different pathogens. And then you need to know a little bit about aquifers and medias and how those two fit together. So I feel like it was a really good fit for me, because I guess as hydrogeologists, we've learned to work in two disciplines. You've got your water and you've got your geology. So I think for me, it's been quite natural to like take on. People like to stay in their comfort zone, what they're familiar with, but we have to solve problems together. And now, for example, people hear me say it's all about the fish. So, yes, it would be great to like understand exactly the hydraulic conductivity of an aquifer to figure out a time of travel. Is it 1 day, 10 days, 100 days to the river system? But does it matter? If it's getting there and it's impacting fish flow, let's talk about the fish. Let's talk about the wetted width. Let's talk about the environmental flow needs. So we're really fortunate at Associate Environmental, where I just walk across the hall and talk to Dave Hayward or Drew Layback, and we need to understand each other's disciplines enough to know we can't do their job, but we need to know what they can contribute to the conversation, and somebody needs to zipper that all together.
I'm glad you brought that up. I guess that that involvement of more disciplines as time has gone on. Do you see that continuing for the next 20 years? Are there more areas that you want to bring into that discussion about drinking water for ongoing security and provision of clean water to people?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's super dynamic right now. There's a huge shift in water law in BC. Of course, the First Nation are here, have been here since forever. So bringing them into the conversation is really important. And climate change adds another dimension. We have all the tools to get there. It just takes a lot of coordination and a lot of more studies and projects. So unfortunately, time is not on our side. So that's the struggle, is, taking the time you need to get the data you need, but then at the same time knowing there's another flood or whatever, another drought around the corner. So how do you make decisions with a lack of data is going to be a pretty big challenge we'll have to think about.
Right. And I guess related to that, I did want to ask how you see climate change affecting what you're doing and that availability of water for people, and maybe in the most layperson terms, if you could, to put that out for people to understand what it is you're seeing and what it is people should expect to have to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, groundwater is part of the water cycle. So at a large scale, in this area, because warm air can hold more water on an annual cycle, we will actually have more rain, precipitation, which is excellent news. So it's a matter of storage. You know, in the Okanagan, we get a ton of water in the spring, and then it moves through and empties into the ocean. So the challenge, you've got that, timing is the biggest challenge. If we can think of ways to store that water, one idea I'd really like to explore is aquifer storage and recovery. And, you know, building upland reservoirs is also not very environmentally a good idea because you're taking down trees and all of that. And then the water is going to be hot. Whereas if you can store the water underground, yes, you might have to pay more for pumping it back out, but at least in general, groundwater is like the average annual air temperature. So it might be around like 8 to 12 degrees versus 29 degrees. So when you need to spill that water in late summer, fall, it would make more sense to take it from aquifers and put that in the rivers where the salmon need it to migrate up and spawn. So yeah, it's that's from the water supply part, and then the other part of your water budget is your water demand. So that's water use. So if you've got longer summers, your outdoor watering will go up. Hotter summers, your outdoor watering will go up. So then we need to look at being more efficient with our water use. So, you know, maybe less overhead sprinklers and more drip, or maybe choosing drought tolerant plants or choosing crops that are more drought tolerant. So yeah, lots of different aspects. And, you know, if it is exciting, but it's also, yeah, pretty scary sometimes.
Sure. Just on a personal level, I guess, have you seen that buy-in more in the communities you're living in? I know it wasn't so many years ago that convincing someone to not they don't need a green lawn was a tough discussion. Is that changing in your world?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we've got affordability crises and all sorts of different things going on. It's a huge societal question that we all have to grapple with. You know, I think BC perhaps is kind of getting broken up into different areas, but I just encourage like everyone to. It's great to see there's stories about water and drought, and encourage everyone to just start asking questions, and you know, voting is right, important. Yeah. You know, like all of these things. It starts at that level, doesn't it? Yeah, I mean, it's going to take everyone together. So, yeah, I think people are in certain areas shifting, but there's still a lot of work to go. Yeah, I feel like the buy-in is getting there, but obviously the job isn't done from that point of view. Getting a bit more into, I guess, the specifics of projects you've worked on, and I know you mentioned First Nations communities and getting them involved. You've also talked about the importance of planning water systems so that meets the needs of a community. I think one of the ways historically we've often failed at that is in talking with First Nations communities. So can you tell me a bit about some of the experiences you've had working in those communities and kind of where you want that to go with the increased consultation? Yeah, I mean, they're rights holders, right? So it's all about active listening, just listening to what they're saying and really, really, really trusting them and knowing that they're rights holders. So what they contribute is super important to the conversation, and we're all in a learning journey together. And also they are capacity resource challenged, just like any small local government. But yeah, just trying to support them and being there with them. Sure. I was talking to Frida a while back, Frida Leong in our Vancouver office, who kind of had a story about trying to relocate or trying to work with a First Nations community and plan out their water wells, and how they didn't trust
the locations of the wells and wanted something different. And that was due to historical miscommunications and not understanding the needs of the community. Do you have similar stories? And perhaps you can relate some of the personal interactions you've had over the years.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's hard for us to picture that water is life, water is a relation. So they treat it just as important when their water gets contaminated as if their aunt is sick. So just being able to think about it through their lens is super powerful. And being able to bring that into the project, I mean, you learn from them, and you always are able to find a common solution. And for that one project in particular, we were able to, go to a different aquifer area, and knowing that cultural sensitivity was there with the other aquifer that had arsenic naturally there, but there was a mine, so they associated that with bad feelings. So we were able to move it, and everyone's really happy with the result.
That's great. I guess speaking also about some of your experience, you've done a lot of work in disaster and disaster recovery. Do you want to talk a bit about kind of projects you've worked in and around that area of providing water security?
Yeah, man, oh man, that call on day 6 in November 2021 after the atmospheric river, got the call from the city of Merritt, and they said, "Hey Marta, we've flushed our lines. Are our wells safe to turn on?" I was like, holy moly, that's no pressure, Marta. The whole town's evacuated. They'd like to come home with being able to turn on their taps. So yeah, luckily we had done a source protection plan a few years earlier for them. And I do remember, as I was working through that plan, what documents would I like to have at my fingertips if one of these abnormal events occur. So luckily we already had the technical advisory committee organized, so we were able to get everyone quickly on the phone. So we had Interior Health, obviously, with their drinking water officer. We had the operators and the administrators. We had some labs ready to go, and it just made you realize that you're going to pay for it one way or another. So it's so much cheaper to plan ahead, and at least you can't avoid the disaster, but at least you are working to get people back to normal as fast as possible. So I can't remember the exact days, but we were pretty proud. We were able to do all of our testing we needed to remove the do not consume order and then the boil water advisory within like 19 or 24 days or something, which we were really, really pleased with, because there's other communities that are still under boil water advisories or alerts over 2 years ago now, because they basically have to build a brand new drinking water treatment plant. So yeah, I mean, luckily at the time the operator and the administrators of Merritt really wanted to think ahead, and they knew they might be at risk, and so they had that planning document that really helped them out.
So in many ways, Merritt is a kind of, I guess, a success story of having that emergency plan in place before disaster struck.
I guess, I mean, people evacuate, it's not good, right? So, but as far as response goes, definitely super proud that we're able to have everyone come together and contribute. It would be nice. I'm actually kind of surprised that source protection plans aren't a requirement. Emergency response plans are, but how do you know what emergencies you'll have if you haven't done your source assessment plan connected to climate change? Like your watershed or your capture zone is where your water is coming from before it reaches the intake or the well. So if you don't know what's in your watershed, how do you prepare for your emergency? So if the emergency response plan is a requirement under the Drinking Water Protection Regulation, I can't quite figure out why a source protection plan isn't. I know they take time. I know they cost money, but I think I added up the cost of the $25,000 report was like 1 hour of all of the vacuum trucks that I saw that one day.
Right.
Vacuum trucks and all the workers, counted, 24 or whatnot. So, I mean, it's just such an incredible deal, I would say.
Has that experience helped convince any municipalities to put that plan in place now? Having watched it, and I guess more and more we are seeing severe weather events around the province and the country as a whole.
Yeah. So the province has started. They have a new ministry called the Ministry of Water, Land, and Resource Stewardship. So source protection used to be broken up by many ministries. So now there's a dedicated source protection team of like 4 or 5 people. There's a hydrologist, a hydrogeologist, a data analyst, like a GIS, and a biologist. So they have some really strong staff at the province kind of guiding this. But we have an election in the fall, so who knows where priorities will go. And in the meantime, it just kind of takes time for them to work on their priorities and figure out how to get it through, I guess, at the political level and onto the ground.
Right. Yeah. I know you're involved in the province, and I guess have put together guidelines for the provincial authorities in the past, or at least helped contribute to that. You're seeing that change, I guess, as we go, and is that rewarding work to put that together, or is it almost harder with the politics involved?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I started my career, like we talked about, on 50 by 50 meter project site, and definitely it can be frustrating to go just because that's what I'm used to kind of a program, but I got lots of people that are helping me with that, and the value is there, and I think people at the provincial level really appreciate that I've got that experience all the way through my career. I don't think you can short circuit that process. Like, I think you do actually need to be in the trenches, so to speak, and stuff those soil jars till your thumbs get blisters. So yeah, like I think people really appreciate that experience, and yeah, it's super rewarding. Like, I've definitely been here enough to see industry standards shift in BC. Yeah, I mean, there's a watershed security fund now. They're reviewing a whole bunch of proposals. There's some momentum. So I'm pretty hopeful that our grant application will be approved, and I can work with the province and Interior Health to keep that pilot test going. It is my dream to have every single water system in BC mapped before I retire. So I looked at Ontario after Walkerton in 2000. I can't remember exactly what year it was, but it took them, and they had full regulation change, like massive hiring with the local government, and wrote regulations all about these protection areas. So it took the province about 15 years to get all of the drinking water systems mapped, and there's way less in Ontario. In BC, there's almost 5,000 community water systems. So, right now we're doing them one at a time when the drinking water officer puts it on their permit to operate a community water system. So that's just too slow. So we've done a pilot with 150 communities in the regional district, Okanagan, Smilkameen, and we hope to try a phase 2 of the pilot where we can expand that and introduce some workshops, some virtual workshops, and have some more workshopping styles at different conferences. So yeah, we're hopeful that way we can get, let's say, 25 done at a time. So I kind of did the math, and I figured I could, if we do this plan that we have, we could do half of them within 10 years. So that's not nothing.
Nope, well, that's achievable.
That would be pretty cool.
Are there other things that you want to achieve as part of your career beyond mapping?
Yeah, I mean, it's so fun. So, I mean, there's just so much. It's just a constant learning. I try to encourage the team to find their own passions, and I want to support them with that. So we've got somebody keen on acid rock drainage, which I want to support, and other areas are surface water groundwater interaction, and the fish. That's just a huge area right now. It's very important to our clients that are trying to use groundwater. We're starting to get into building off main stem channel compensation areas for salmon coat to rest while they move upstream. So they need cool groundwater upwelling to provide a nice habitat for them to chill out as they make their migration. So that's pretty cool working with fish people. And then I guess the other thing is how do we make people care? So there's this fancy term, experiential learning. And I figure getting people on the landscape, getting people at the creek, seeing the fish. I'd been living in the Okanagan for 15 years before somebody showed me what a kokanee salmon was. Like, they're right there. Right? They're right there. I was like, how is that possible? So I think that is something fun too, right? So
absolutely.
I brought UBC's aquifer model to a classroom, to my son's grade 5 classroom, and they could literally put dye. There's a pump and there's little sand layers, and they could put dye in to show where the aquifer water would go, and then they could see it discharging to the stream. And then there's a little oil tank, and so there's some brown dye, and they could see that contaminating the stream. So that was just so inspiring. So how do we get people, that's in the classroom still, but it's better than a PowerPoint. At least they're touching things and doing things. So how do we get people in the stream looking at the kokanee and talking about these things? So those are some things that are kind of on my future. So lots more to do, and just so excited that I have people to do all of this with.
Right. Well, that's great. We'll wrap things up there. It sounds like there's things to look forward to, so that's great. Thank you for sitting down and chatting with me today.
Thanks, Graham. It's a pleasure.
Great. That was Marta Green, a hydrogeology technical specialist with Associated Environmental. Her expertise and knowledge around water has made her an expert on water and groundwater use, drinking water systems, and water protection. I want to thank Marta for joining me in Vernon, BC to talk about her career and the important realities that local, provincial, and our national government are facing when it comes to water and water security. At the end of 2024, the Canadian government officially created the Canada Water Agency. The newly created agency, working under the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change, is mandated to improve freshwater management across Canada and improve collaboration and coordination with the provinces, territories, and Indigenous peoples. Its first round of funding included commitments for over $90 million of funding for 175 projects across the country. I hope you enjoyed this podcast and our conversation with Marta Green. You can find past episodes on our website at ae.ca or through podcast streaming services such as Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Our last episode featured Craig McDonald in a conversation about AE's Strategic Advisory Services Group and the work they're doing to help communities around the country prepare for the future. That's it for this episode of AE Live. Thank you for joining me, and until next time.
Coming to you on the internet, audio, on my stem, homies know A's where you gotta go. Shuffle to the rhythm of the Gamma Michael groove. It's a whole new pure plur interview. Treat your ears to the gist of careers from the list of our engineers and scientists, maybe twisted up with technologists. It's a podcast, baby, and not to be missed. Got more fly than a ripe banana, like the salmon caught the stamina streaming across Canada. Like a trade show cabana, got that swiggity swag, and the 411 for my horse Niagara. AE Live, don't you know we're gonna innovate? AE Live, got a topic here to elevate. AE Live, here to entertain and educate. AE Live, oh! AE Live, don't you know we're gonna innovate? AE Live, got a topic here to